In the world of mixed martial arts, there are few fighters who can match the polarizing presence of Colby Covington. Whether he's trash-talking his opponents, expressing his political views, or flaunting his extravagant lifestyle, Covington has established himself as one of the most intriguing figures in the sport today. But how much do you actually know about Colby Covington's lifestyle? There's more to this guy than the cheap suits and the models he hires to stand beside him in promos, so let's get into it. Born on February 22, 1988 in Clovis, California, Covington grew up with a passion for wrestling, one that came directly from his bloodline. His father was a wrestler in his own heyday, competing out of university in Oregon. He started competing in the sport in high school and went on to have a glittering run during this time, carving out success in each of his first 4 years on the mats. He then moved on to college in Arizona State University. Colby Covington's college years were marked by controversy, upheaval, and the beginnings of a storied MMA career. After a rocky academic start at his first college, Colby moved to Iowa Central Community College, where he won a junior college wrestling title with a remarkable record of 34-0. It was at Iowa Community College that Colby first crossed paths with another future MMA superstar, John Jones. The two were roommates during their freshman year, and according to Covington, they hit it off right away. However, their friendship eventually soured, and the two have traded barbs in the media in recent years.
Yeah, Colby's a habitual liar at the end of the day. He really is.
And at this stage, we don't know who to believe. It's a feud between two of MMA's greatest liars, one that continues to this day. Although, given the weight difference, it's never going to result in anything more than back and forth chatter.
Do you think he can be heavyweight champ?
Absolutely not.
From there, his solid performances saw Colby manage to transfer upwards to the University of Iowa, where he found a new home with the wrestling team. In 2007, he was arrested for eluding the police and driving under the influence of alcohol. For this crime, he was suspended from the wrestling team for a year, and eventually he transferred for the final time to Oregon State University. During his time in this college, he earned All-American honors and proved himself to be a truly outstanding athlete. But controversy was never too far behind him. After an incident that saw him punch two men after a verbal altercation, Colby was cited for fourth-degree assault. However, no charges were pursued. Once he had finished up with college, Covington was recruited by Dan Lambert to round out his wrestling coaching staff at the mixed martial arts gym American Top Team. And it was during this time that he would truly clean up his act. It was here that he would meet another future UFC star, Jorge Masvidal. Masvidal took Covington under his wing, allowing him to stay on his couch while he got on his feet in the MMA world. The two formed a close bond, with Masvidal serving as a mentor and friend to Covington, and for the next few years, these two would serve as cornermen, training partners, and confidants to one another. Covington made his professional MMA debut in 2012 and quickly established himself as a rising star in the sport. He won his first 5 fights before signing with the UFC in 2014. Over the next few years, Covington continued to climb the ranks of the UFC welterweight division. But it wasn't until his fight against Brazilian fighter Demian Maia in October 2017 that Covington truly made a name for himself. In the lead-up to the fight, Covington had made controversial comments about Brazil and its people, and directly after beating Maia in the cage, Colby let all of his fury come to the surface, turning heel in the most dramatic fashion possible. He stood in front of a crowd of Brazilians and proceeded to call them filthy animals while describing their country as a dump.
Brazil, you're a dump! All you filthy animals suck!
And with that, the Colby Covington we all know these days was born. Even though Covington's performances in the cage hadn't necessarily been capturing people's attention, his out-of-cage persona certainly was. Covington had developed a reputation for being one of the most outspoken and controversial figures in the sport, regularly making headlines with his comments about other fighters, political figures, and social issues. In many ways, Covington's persona was a deliberate creation. He saw the value in being a polarizing figure, someone who people loved to hate.
I want people to hate me.
He embraced this role, crafting a character who was brash, confident, and unapologetic. Part of Covington's persona involved his support for Donald Trump. Covington had long been a supporter of the former president, even wearing a Make America Great Again hat during his post-fight interviews. He was also a vocal critic of athletes who spoke out against Trump, something that only served to further endear him to his target audience. Covington's political views have drawn both praise and criticism. Some admire him for being willing to speak his mind and stand up for what he believes in, while others see him as a divisive figure who's more interested in attention than in promoting positive change. But regardless of what people think of Covington, there's no denying that he's one of the most entertaining and compelling fighters in the sport today. He has a unique ability to capture people's attention, both with his performances in the cage and with his antics outside of it. And it does seem as though the fans are starting to enjoy his gimmick, even just as a spectacle or something to laugh at. One major supporter of Colby's over the years has, of course, been the former US president himself, Donald Trump. Trump has long been a fan of combat sports and has taken a particular liking to the brash, outspoken Covington. In 2018, Trump invited Covington to the White House after his interim title win over Rafael dos Anjos. For a guy who literally pulled his character out of thin air, this was conclusive proof of its impact. The invitation was a dream come true for Covington, who has long been a vocal supporter of Trump. The two men share a love of combat sports, and Trump has praised Covington for his unwavering patriotism and support of law enforcement. The president even gave Covington a shout-out during a rally in Nevada, calling him a great fighter and a great athlete. After Covington's victory over Tyron Woodley by way of fifth-round TKO, Trump called into the post-fight show to congratulate him on his win.
You are a great fighter, man. I'll tell you. You make it so easy. I don't know how to do that.
The conversation was filled with praise and admiration, with Trump telling Covington that he was a great fighter and a patriot. While Covington's political views have made him a controversial figure in the MMA community, he's always been unwavering in his support of his family and his approach to life outside of the cage. His hard-nosed philosophy was birthed years beforehand. Covington grew up in a middle-class family in Oregon, where his parents instilled in him a strong work ethic and a belief in the American dream. And you don't get cardio like his without an insane drive in the gym. He's a relentless wrestler with an iron will, and he never gives up in the face of adversity. These traits have made him a total nightmare matchup for most fighters, and even his biggest haters can't help but admit that the dude can fight. And the more time he spends as a star attraction in this game, the more fans start to realize just how skillfully he has played them all for fools. Covington's ability to market himself has become a key part of his success both inside and outside the octagon. The image of Colby proudly wearing his MAGA hat, his red, white, and blue mouthguard, and his cheap suits have all helped to build his brand as a true one of one in the sport. His trash-talking often comes in the form of very cringe-worthy one-liners and nicknames. Although, we've gotta admit, some of those nicknames are pretty hilarious. Marty Fakes Newman, the CEO of EPO, Ben Ass Cream, Street Judas. Yeah, even if the whole gimmick isn't for you, he has a way of working himself into the mainstream MMA culture. In fact, his use of funny nicknames is not too dissimilar from the tactics used by Donald Trump during his initial rise to the presidency. But Covington's marketing skills go beyond just talk. He has been known to wear cheap suits to media events, creating a sharp contrast to the designer clothes worn by many of his fellow fighters. It's all done with a cheeky grin and a wink, and Covington is totally in on the joke. Despite his antics, Covington's marketing abilities have proven effective. His high-profile fights against the likes of Kamaru Usman and Jorge Masvidal have drawn significant attention, with his brash personality helping to sell tickets and pay-per-view buys. Outside of the octagon, Covington has also found success in business ventures, including a line of t-shirts featuring his catchphrase, Chaos, and partnerships with betting companies that always showcase Covington surrounded by women who were very clearly paid to join him on camera, without any idea of who he is. While many fans and fighters find Covington's antics off-putting, there's no denying that he has established himself as a successful marketer, using his controversial persona to draw in fans and media attention. And it all works. Colby went from a pretty boring, unrecognized prospect to a guy who has some of the most devoted fans in the entire sport. And now, with Kamaru Usman out of the picture, at least for now, it does give Covington an opportunity to test himself against a new face, the current king, Leon Edwards. Leon doesn't seem to be too pushed about fighting Covington until he earns the title shot, but Dana White, for some strange reason, seemed totally adamant that Colby is next, even though there are more worthy and active contenders to be found. But hey, that's the type of treatment a guy like Colby is going to get. He might not fight as often as we would like these days, choosing instead to fight only the biggest possible names for the biggest possible paychecks. But when he does sign on the dotted line, it's generally a major spectacle for the sport. Colby serves as an example of just how well things can go if you take a risk with your fighting persona. Obviously, you need to have talent as well, but Colby has been able to achieve truly great things on the back of a moment of true inspiration behind the scenes. And you can't say it's not well deserved at this point. He's a superstar, a divisive one, but a superstar nonetheless. Did you enjoy this video? If you did, kindly like and subscribe to our channel so we can bring you more intriguing UFC videos like this. Until next time, do take care and do not forget to stay tuned for more great content.